My name is Jessica Bell. I'm one of the deputy directors here at DPZ, and I have to sincerely apologize, but we are not able to get the live stream activated. So instead, what we are going to do is hold our meeting, and then we will record the meeting. We're actively recording right now, and make sure that we post that to the website for anyone who wanted to kind of follow along with us and look at that this morning. But being respectful of your guys' time, I don't want to take any more time as we try to troubleshoot why WebEx has revoked our live streaming privileges. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in a bit. Great. We're all squared away. So if you are logged on to this WebEx meeting, it's because you are one of our members of our Housing Affordability Working Group. First, I want to thank you all so much for your willingness to serve and dedicate your time to this initiative. I am going to go through today's agenda. The first one is we are essentially what we're doing right now, our welcome and our introductions. I wanted to go ahead and give everyone around a chance to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about the work they do. All of you were selected because you have a particular set of expertise, knowledge, and skills that you bring to this table. We wanted this to be a very technically heavy group of people who can provide a lot of insight into development, the affordable housing world, and all the challenges and opportunities that exist therein. So I'm going to pause for now, and I would love to go around the virtual room and have everyone introduce themselves. I'm going to just go clockwise on my screen and call out your names. So Cedric, can you kick us off?
Sure. I am Cedric Brown. I am a resident of Howard County. I've been here for about 20 years, and coincidentally, I've been underwriting and financing affordable housing deals through the public sector for about 20 years as well.
Thank you. All right. Tim, can we go to you next?
Hi, everybody. I think I actually worked with Cedric Brown for a little bit in Montgomery County. I have about...
Okay.
How's it going, dude?
All right.
It's been a minute. My name is Tim Getzinger. I have about 25 years worth of affordable housing experience in Baltimore City, mostly in Montgomery County. I was the acting director of housing there for about a year, and currently I am the CFO and Senior VP of Finance for the Housing Opportunities Commission for Montgomery County, which is essentially the public housing and financing housing agency for Montgomery County. I'm also a Howard County resident.
All right, Thomas, we'll go to you next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tom Evans, retired from Northrop Grumman and the state of Maryland. Have more than 35 years experience of the need for affordable housing, and have a daughter with special needs, and from that standpoint, looking for affordable housing. Been a resident of Howard County for 40 years, and look forward to participating on this committee and add whatever I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Grace, I'm going to go to you next.
Good afternoon, I'm Grace Morris. I am Executive Director of Heritage Housing Partners. We are a local nonprofit that owns and manages affordable housing. I've been in that job for 16 years. I've been involved in affordable housing since 1989 in various roles, including working in a county housing department. And my husband and I live in Elkridge. We've been here almost 27 years.
Jacqueline, I'm going to tap you next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline West Spencer. I am a resident of Howard County, and I have been working within the real estate development, affordable housing, community development world for over 25 years. I am also on the Howard County Housing Commission, so it's a pleasure to be among all of you today. Thank you.
All right, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Zuniga. I am the owner of Foundation Development Group. I have been a developer of affordable housing for about 25 years in 5 different states. I also am the CEO of Humphrey Management, and we manage 7,500 units in the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily in Maryland. We are based in Howard County with 200 plus employees.
Thank you. Justin.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Justin Kennel. Vice President of Development at Bizzuto Development Company. Specialize in developing mixed use and multifamily product. We even recently partnered with EYA and Montgomery County HOC on a project. So looking forward to participating and putting forth the resources at Bizzuto from management to development construction to try to add some value. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, Paul.
Paul Rebell, the land developer.
Paul, you're coming in very soft. Can you move the microphone closer?
Is that any better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm a residential land developer. Been working in Howard County since doing that since, I don't know, 40 years. Lived in Howard County for the last 56 years. And I'm also now active with the Affordable Housing Commission.
Thank you. Tim.
There another Tim?
Nope, you're it.
Oh, I think I already went.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's been moving you guys around on my screen. I will go with Catherine then. Thank you. Sorry, Tom.
Hello, my name is Catherine Valentine. I currently work for District of Columbia government, been there for approximately 30 years. I've also lived in Howard County for approximately 35 years. Most of my job has always been in accounting and financing, so I'm currently on the Howard County Housing Commission Board.
Thank you. And then I'm going to go to Peter next.
Hi, Peter Engel. Hello to everybody I know from the past or the present. I'm the executive director of the Howard County Housing Commission. I've been doing affordable housing work primarily in Maryland for a long time. So good to be working with you all.
And then I'll tap Kelly next.
Good afternoon. I'm Kelly Simino. I'm the director of the Howard County Department of Housing and Community Development. I've been with the county 17 years now and working with many of you already on this call. So great to see all of you.
Thank you guys. Like I said, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to serve on this group. I'm going to kind of quickly go through the rest of the PowerPoint slide that I prepared. This is just our kickoff meeting. It's kind of to make sure that we actually get this group together, get this work started. So I'm going to provide today an overview of what it means to be on a group like this. I think most of you have served on one at some point in your life, but I need to remind you all that we are subject to the Open Meetings Act. So one of the reminders that I want to give everyone is that this group is not supposed to discuss the business of the group outside of these public meetings so that the board can see us conduct that business. I know that many of you probably overlap in your other worlds, so just keep that in mind and try not to discuss the current or future business of the group outside of these meetings. I'm also going to be sending out as a follow-up to this meeting a link to the online training that the state of Maryland provides for the Open Meetings Act. It's really easy to take, it's virtual, I'm going to encourage as many people from this group who are able and willing to please take that meeting, and I will also take it to serve as for compliance for that. And then we're also today going to go into a little bit of the impetus for why this group has been formed and the actual scope of work and charge that is before you. And then we'll finish up talking a little bit about schedules and timelines. I'm going to tell you right now that when we sent the prior communication asking for everyone's kind of schedules and blackouts, if I followed everyone's schedule perfectly, we wouldn't be convening until next May. You are all incredibly busy, which is indicative of your expertise. But it also means it's going to be difficult for this group to find a time to meet. So I wanted to dedicate a little bit of today's meeting to just kind of talking through our schedules and kind of our preferences for the frequency of meetings, the length of meetings that we want to meet, and kind of some general timeframes that we wanted to aim for. And then we'll do some follow-up as a response to that. All right. So as you know, we just went around. Everyone who was able to attend today's meeting has introduced themselves. Our membership, it's a 13 group member, 11 voting members and 2 non-voting members. You were selected both by the county executive as well as the county council. And this is the breakdown of the group. We went over the Open Meetings Act a little bit generally, just as conduct all business in this meeting. This is the link to the training. I will send that as a follow-up email and also provide the quick facts guide for what it means to be compliant with the Open Meetings Act. All right, digging in on the background. As many of you know, Howard County recently adopted a new general plan last October, became effective in December. And one of the many implementing action items that was in that policy document was the convening of this affordable housing working group. And to have them really talk through some of the largest kind of messiest aspects of trying to encourage the development of affordable housing and how to pull all the right levers to make that happen in a way that is achieving the goals that we have for growth in the county, as well as being realistic with how funding works for affordable housing, how the development process works, and making the numbers work so that we can actually start developing affordable housing in the county in the way that we want to. Some of the specific tasks that you've been asked to do is create a definition of affordable and accessible housing. The county obviously has a very high income in general, so being able to afford to live in Howard County is a little different than some of the other communities in Maryland, and so we want to basically create the working definition for what it means to have affordable housing. Kelly can talk to how we currently define it. We want to take a look at that, see if that's still a reasonable standard. And then also accessible housing. You know, we have a growing senior population who, while they might be able to afford to live in Howard County, they cannot find housing that meets their needs. So kind of trying to make sure that we have working definitions for that. And then throughout the general plan, there's a lot of different policy guidance on how we can establish development incentives, how our adequate public facilities growth management tools work. And we want to make sure that we have a system that is functional. And to that end, some of the suggestions are potentially establishing a zoning overlay that targets specific areas in the county for the affordable and accessible housing, making sure that we have accessible housing to all income levels throughout the county, and making sure we're targeting our development incentives to those areas that we don't currently have enough affordable housing. General incentives related to development and the development process. And also we want to make sure that as we are creating affordable housing, that we are ensuring that we have homeownership opportunities be part of that discussion. I think most all of you are familiar with Howard County to some degree, but our adequate public facilities ordinance does include a allocations chart, and these are the housing units that are available any given year for a specific geographic area in the county. In addition to the geographic areas that are outlined in our housing chart, what we also have is a column that was developed in the general plan dedicated to affordable housing. And this group has been asked to consider that additional allocation column in context of all the development incentives and overlay zones and things that we've discussed today, to recommend goals and criteria for how that column could be used. So those are sort of the high-level overview of the scope of work that this group has been asked to undertake. And if you go into the general plan, you can read the narrative and context behind all of these recommendations. But I wanted to give you guys that brief overview as well for any members of the public who have joined us today. So just a general timeline that we're working from right now. Today, our kickoff meeting. The original timeline for this group was to try to meet this fall and winter to review affordable housing materials and have the topic discussions for the scope of work that I just went over. To then develop a report with your assessment of the conditions and your recommendations for how to achieve the goals. Then that ultimate recommendation is going to be sent to the county executive, the county council, as well as our adequate public facilities task force, which will be convening later this summer and working over the next several months. Your recommendations are going to tie into their overarching recommendations for the adequate public facility ordinance for all of Howard County. I wanted to pause here because, as I alluded to earlier in our agenda, this is going to be a difficult group to convene. You all have very busy schedules. I've spoken to some of you when we were starting to form this group, but I haven't had the opportunity to talk with everyone. One of the things we discussed as we were outlining how this group would meet and what would be most beneficial is how often and the length of the meetings. These are really big topics. So I think where we were hoping to suggest to you guys is having fewer meetings, but to have those meetings be longer. So we were thinking 3 or 4 half-day meetings where you had the time to really dig in to discuss all these topics. But it sounds like that might not be possible with some of these work schedules. And so the alternative would be trying to schedule more, less lengthy, but more frequent meetings and to do so in the evening hours. So I just wanted to pause here and kind of get a general sentiment of this group, kind of a straw poll of if there is a leaning towards either one of those type of meeting schedules. And if the answer is we need to think on it, please follow up with us. That is an absolutely okay answer to have at this point in time.
Hey, Jessica, this is Jackie. I do think it is to have 4 half days might be a little bit too much. But if we could, get an idea of what are the other options, would it be 2-hour meetings that would be more reasonable for everyone, or because I just think that 4 half days might be a little bit difficult.
That's great feedback. We could also do a hybrid where we would find the best time for one long meeting to dive into the meat of a lot of our work, but then some preliminary shorter meeting. I had a head nod, so I'm going to go with that as probably leaning towards the best method to propose to you. And we can send out some schedules for you guys to look at and say, these are the ones, this is the schedule that works best for us. I know all of you have a lot of competing meetings that you have to work around. In general, we had the majority of members respond that they would prefer daytime meetings and to meet virtually. But I think we have some individuals who are not able to work outside. They have their general meeting work obligations and wouldn't be able to meet during the day. So I'm wondering if this group has a preference for doing shorter evening meetings for those shorter meetings and then just setting up one large meeting during the day. All right.
So this is Peter, I just wanted to suggest in terms of the number of meetings and how that works. I found with groups like this, often there's research that has to get done between meetings. And so if you just have 4, I don't know that that's going to work. Obviously have more, that's helpful, but perhaps you could look at a schedule that would sort of incorporate both and sort of think, all right, when are we really going to be doing our brainstorming that's going to then require follow-up research before sort of planning that out. Otherwise, I think we run the risk of not being able to get that done. And then in terms of timing meetings, you know, if we have to do evenings, we can do evenings. I would certainly prefer daytime. Thanks.
Okay. I think based on where we are right now, Peter, as you're segued perfectly into our next topic, which is following this meeting, we have been preparing some information packets for you. I know that it was not a realistic chore to say, here's our 500-page general plan, here's our 200-page other documents, and just have you guys have a large reading fest. So we were trying to condense some information down to you, but we have some information packets that were put together to pull together recent data that we thought would be beneficial. I think Kelly, kind of the fact that we recently undertook our Housing Opportunities Master Plan, that was very much a data-driven deep dive into the housing situation in Howard County. There's a lot of other updated development monitoring systems reports that are available. So we are going to get you guys kind of a general data packet. And then also suggest that for our next meeting, ask what is the most beneficial, I guess, topic discussion that would be helpful for you guys. Do you guys want presentations from county staff updating you on data? Do you guys want to tackle one of these items and sort of we can gear in some research for that to prompt your discussion? I think when I was initially outlining some of this, I thought that one of probably the easiest waters to start dipping our toes into was to start looking at what affordable and accessible means in Howard County, very much as a data-driven approach. I've received the most nods to that. Okay, so I will, don't let me cut off anyone. So I will go ahead and kind of start outlining a general meeting schedule and agenda topics to get your guys' feedback on. And then what I'll ask is that you'll reply to that with any information data presentations that would be helpful for you digging in on those particular items. And then I'll be following up with our information packets for you guys to review. And then that will likely be a shorter meeting, and I'll send out a few dates and times for everyone to respond to and see if we can get the majority of the group members to be able to attend. So that is all that I have prepared for you guys for the presentation. So that was kind of the overview of what the group's purpose is going to be. Talked a little about the meeting schedule, had a chance to introduce ourselves. Is there any other topics that this group would like to discuss before we kind of figure out our next steps and when we'll next be meeting?
Jess, I've got a question about the overlay district.
Yes.
I'm not putting that out as first or last, but would the governor's bill come up for discussion, our discussion, in connection with the overlay district, or would that be a separate matter?
I think it's a relevant topic if you would like to discuss that. Is everyone familiar with that legislation that was recently passed in Howard County? If not, I can provide a quick overview. So the part of the Citizens Housing Challenge that was passed recently spans a certain number of sites in local jurisdictions that are eligible for a density bonus. The sites are those that are generally considered transit-oriented development sites, so those next to rail stations, as well as certain projects that would be owned by qualified nonprofit entities. So essentially what it's saying is for certain multifamily housing, it allows a 30% density bonus on top of what the underlying zoning district would allow. And we're waiting a little bit on some state guidance for how best to implement that, and that will legislation is going to be effective in January 2025. So we can certainly include some information in your packets about that legislation if that is an item you would like to discuss. Okay. So is there any of this scope of work that was outlined that we wanted to dig into more, any questions that this group had as they were reading through the scope? Great. Well, we will be in touch with a few dates and times and some proposed schedule to get your feedback on. Probably come through SurveyMonkey so that you can get feedback both on the schedule as well as some of the potential topics in the order that we want to tackle them in, as well as some of the information packets. So in the meantime, if you guys, as you start wrestling with these topics, if you think of anything that you want to bring up in a future agenda or any data that you would like us to start compiling for you, or if you would like anyone to come present to this group, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you all for your time and thank you for joining us for our kickoff meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.